and welcome to TezMania TV and another DIY video. Yay! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make 3 super simple, awesome rockin' skirts. And I'm categorizing this as festival DIY, which I've done with a couple of previous DIY videos. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm only going to be using these things at festivals, but I'm creating them with festivals in mind. But, you know, you do whatever, just, I don't know, I kind of like categorizing stuff like that. So the skirts that I'm going to be making today are kind of tiny, showing off half of my ass looking cool kind of skirts. So if you're like, oh no, I cannot see her ass, you better stop watching right now. There's also a way around, like if you don't want to show too much skin, the way around that is to just use more fabric than I'm doing, or to just wear like leggings or something underneath. But my plan is to wear like cute little hot pants and stuff underneath these skirts. So the one thing that these 3 skirts have in common is that they're all going to be built around a very simple elastic waistband. So you'll need just elastic ribbon or elastic waistband for this. I'm using 25mm black, and basically what I'm going to start doing for all 3 skirt models is just measuring and cutting a piece that fits my waist. And you have to decide if you want this to be a high-waisted skirt or if you want it to ride low on your hips, or do whatever works for you. I've decided to make one of the skirt models a high-waisted one, and the other 2 are going to be like low, so riding on my hips kind of style. But everyone just do what they prefer. So this step, like I said, will be the same for all 3 skirts. I'm going to start off by doing one of the lower waisted skirts. I went to my local sewing store, it's called Olssons Tyger, and I found this like in the scrap fabrics. I thought it was just very, very comfortable and a little punky. You punk it up if you use it the right way. So it's just a piece of fabric that I don't know the measurements of. I'm not going to be using the whole thing. The technique that I'm going to be using for the skirt, I have used it in a previous skirt, but for that I used different kinds of fabric, combining that into one skirt. Today I'm only going to be using this. And basically what you do is you cut this fabric into triangular shaped strips, and then you just sew them on to your waistband one by one. So it's really simple. Like I said, I do have a video for how a skirt like that can look if you use different kinds of fabric. So if you want to go check that out, you can find that in the links below. But let's start cutting, shall we? So I'm going to start off by sewing the edges of the waistband together, and then we have a waistband to work with. The waistband has now been sewn together, and it's time to start cutting some pieces from the fabric. If I wanted this skirt to be nice and neat, I probably have to go over the edges with a zigzag seam, but since this is for a punk look, I don't mind that this is going to open up and be all threaded and stuff, but you go ahead and do what you like. Now we have a bunch that are pretty much the same size, so I'm going to cut a couple that are slightly different in size so that we get some interesting textures on the skirt. Once you have all those pieces, it's time to start pinning them to your waistband. Remember to keep your waistband inside out and to pin them on inside out. It just makes it a whole lot easier to get everything in order. So the small pieces, the ones that you want to be on the exterior of the skirt, you're going to add those first, since we have it inside out now. Once you're happy with all of your layers, it's time to take this off if you're wearing it yourself, or I'm going to take it off my mannequin and then sew everything on, and then our skirt is done. The second skirt is a tulle skirt. So I have a shit ton of tulle. It's like fine webbed, slightly stretchy tulle. And this is meant to be a transparent skirt. So again, if you're not comfortable showing off your ass underneath, you can always wear leggings or anything like that under it. Or you can use it as an underskirt. But first things first, before you get working with the tulle, you need to get your waistband ready. And I'm going to do it the same way that I did for the first skirt. So start doing that, and then let's get back to the tulle. My waistband is done, and it's time to start working on the tulle. Now, tulle, it can be tricky to sew the edges together for tulle, the way you can do with any other kind of fabric. So I'm going to be using the circle skirt technique for this. It's a way that you have to use more fabric to get, but it means you have no stitching on the side at all, which is great for tulle. It also gives that nice drapey, flowy effect into the tulle, because I'm only going to be using one layer of tulle today, and let's face it, one layer of tulle can look pretty boring. So by making it a circle skirt, hopefully I'll get that nice flowy, wavy sensation of it. Now, if you don't know what a circle skirt is, it's going to be really tricky for me to show you guys this, but I'll try to explain it, and I'll show it also, but I'll try to explain it. So what you do is, let's say you have a big square piece of your fabric. You then fold it over in half like so, and then fold it over in half like so that you end up with a fourth of your original piece. Now, the inner corner of that fourth folded up piece is the piece that you were going to cut open and turn into your waistline. Well, everything else will become that nice flowy skirt part. It sounds really, really tricky when I explain it. And you also need to use a pen and string to get that rounded shape. Alright, so I have folded my tulle fabric like I just showed you guys. So this corner right here, this is the corner that we're going to be working from. This is the closed corner, where all the four folded edges meet. But before we can start cutting anything, we have to do some math. So you take your full waist measurement, and that makes up the circumference of the top. Like, that's what your waist is going to be, and it will be a full circle. It doesn't have to be exactly your waist measurement. It can be a little bit more so that you can kind of scrunch it up. It can't be too little though, because you're not going to be able to put it on, but you can always add a little bit and then fold everything. I'm going to show you that in a bit. And from there, we need to figure out what the radius of this circle is. And the radius is counted by taking pi times 2, and that is 3.14, so 628, and you divide your circumference by that. So your complete circumference, like your waist measurement plus those extra centimeters, divided by 6.28, okay? That measurement that you get is what we're going to use to know like how far down into our skirt we're going to create the waist itself. I know this sounds super confusing, but just let's say for argument's sake that we have a 100 centimeter waist. I'll just take 100 divided by 6.28, and 100 divided by 6.28 is 15.92356, so I'm going to go for 16. I'm just using this piece of elastic band that I had left over, putting a pin on that so I can use this to measure with. And you measure from where it is placed to 16, and you mark that down, or you just cut your measuring stick to be 16. And then you just go around like this. If you're doing this with a regular fabric, you can draw on the fabric, but it's really tricky to draw on tulle. Alright, so here you now have your waist. So once we cut this out, it's going to open up into a circle, and that's going to meet your 100 centimeter circumference, or whatever number you had. And then before we start cutting, we're going to move this down and cut the length at the same time. So I'll just leave it like that. And I said I wanted my skirt to be 45 centimeters, right? So measure that. And then you just repeat that process. Try to keep your tool lying flat on the floor when you do this. Alright, then you can cut here And cut here, and you have your skirt piece. See how this unfolds into a complete circle? If I measured this now, this would be 100 centimeters. So the skirt is now just like a big donut, and it's time to attach it to my waistband. And again, keep your waistband inside out so that we can easily flip it afterwards. Alright, so since we added those extra centimeters, we do have some fabric to work with, which is great. I'm going to start by just pinning it randomly in the back, then sort of finding that matching counterpoint for the front, and then for the rest you basically just keep finding counterpoints, and then at some point you start folding the fabric so that you get these nice waves. You can measure and be very neat as usual. That's not really the approach that I go for, but to each their own. Once you're happy with the placement of your pins, just go ahead and sew all the way around, and then your skirt will be done. For the third skirt, I'm going to be using this fabric, which is an elastic, high shine PVC kind of fabric. And I'm still going to be doing the same technique with waistband, so I'm going to start with that. Once the waistband is complete, I'm going to start cutting pieces from this kind of in the same way as I did in the first skirt, but I'm only going to cut two. So one for the back and one for the front. So this is the bottom of one of the pieces, and instead of having it just straight like this, I'm just going to cut like little slits, just making the shape a little bit more interesting. And then I'm going to cut a similar piece for the other half of the skirt. And I say similar because it's not going to be exact. There are our two pieces, and it's time to attach them to the waistband. And remember to pin them on inside out, since we have this facing inside out. Then you can go ahead and sew that all the way around. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and liked my fun little festival skirts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!